And then we have the same prophet, Jonah, only we call him Eunice, and he's the one that goes down in the water, the bottom of the different story here is that it's the same story. He leaves his people, gets on the boat, winds up in the water, in the whale, bottom of the sea, same story, until he does something there that's not mentioned in the Bible anymore. In that whale, in the bottom of the ocean, in the sea, he's there, he's trapped, and you know what he says?
I've wronged myself.
Yeah, exactly. He said, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka. Inni kuntum min adh-dhalimin. Oh Allah. He's saying to him, you are the only God. There's none other to be worshipped but you. And all the exaltation and praise and glory is only for you. And verily I have wronged myself. And that's how he did that. That's very beautiful. When you learn the rest of these stories, it's so amazing and so beautiful. Then the book of, how do you pronounce it?
Say Micah.
Micah is probably right. Let's go with that. And then Nahum. And then Habakkuk. And Habakkuk is under big discussion amongst many of the scholars, talking about the books that they found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, or the Wadi Qumran scrolls, and those are from the book of Habakkuk. And that later we'll be talking in detail on all of these. We're just glossing over them now. Then Zephaniah. I'll give you that one. What's that?
Haggai.
Haggai? Or Haggai. Give it up.
Haggai.
Give it up, man. Then Zechariah.
You want me to try that one?
Go for it.
Malachi.
Malachi.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but now we got a problem. Because now the books that we just mentioned from the Old Testament are not all of the Old Testament, are they?
No.
But that's all you're going to find in the English version called the King James Version.
Correct.
The reason is because this is the Protestant Bible. But the Catholic Bible, which the Protestant Bible was really based on, the Protestants were protesters. They broke off, split off from the church, went out their way and started their own deal. And some of them became Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, Episcopalian, Church of God, Church of Christ, Church of God in Christ. You know, any formula that you could come up with, it'd be all right, right?
Right.
And all of them wanted to drop out books. I guess there's things they didn't like. I don't know.
Right.
But the original Bible, at least the one that they had from Jerome in the 4th century, had how many books in it?
In the 4th century? You mean
Yeah,
the Old
that's
Testament
called
or
the
New
Vulgate.
Testament?
The whole Latin Vulgate was called what? It was called the Bible.
Right, okay. See,
Trying to make it
that was
easy
a
for you.
trick question.
No,
so I
no,
was like,
no. That was what they had. All right, how many books did it have?
Just of the Old Testament or both?
With all of it together.
All of it together would have been about 73 books.
Exactly. But then what happens after the Reformation and they split off from the church and they went their way and made their own churches, they had how many books?
66.
66 is exactly right. So then we find that these other books that are still in the Catholic Bible, okay, and let's mention those. The book of Esther, the book of, say that.
Baruch.
I'll give you that. I'll go with that. Then another part of the book of Daniel, the book of Tobias, Judith, and the wisdom of Solomon. We talked about the Song of Solomon. Here we got the wisdom of Solomon. And then what's that?
Ecclesiasticus.
Not Ecclesiastics, Ecclesiasticus, right? Then the 1st and 2nd books of Maccabees. So those are the first, that we're talking about the Old Testament. And that's just a synopsis, just a brief, let's take a peek. And we're going to come back on this right after a few messages here. But you need to visit us on the internet at www.islamtomorrow.com for a rebroadcast of this and other programs. And we'll be continuing in our next program. Until then, this is Yusuf Estes telling you Allah is the guide. May He guide all the seekers of truth to the real truth. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thanks for being on the show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abdullah Palmer is with us again. And we're on the second part of in this series of Izar al-Haq, the book review of the books that were originally used by the famous debater of Christianity, which is Ahmed Didat.
Correct.
And he's written some great works, and he based it on these books right here that you're looking at here. This is called Izar al-Haq, the Truth Revealed. And as we already mentioned in the first parts of it, I won't bore you with that again, we listed a little bit of the introduction and what's going on with that. We gave you the names of the books of the Old Testament. Now we're going to jump in and talk about the New Testament, those books. And this will give you sort of an understanding of what's going on with these books. We're just touching on them a little bit so that you'll have some basic knowledge whenever you talk to people about it. So in the Old Testament, by the way, we found there were 39 books.
Correct.
Now that's based on what? Because we already ran into the problem that the Catholic Bible had 73 books. The Christian, or the Old Testament has 39 books, and the New Testament has
27 books.
27 for a total of 66. But the Catholic Bible has 73.
Yeah.
So it makes a problem. And so now we're going to look at the New Testament. Now this is based on the New Testament according to the Protestants. And they have what's called the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And those are called synoptic because they follow the same what? Synopsis. And then we run into the Gospel of John. And the Gospel of John is a little bit different. It has a different tone and a different argument, the way it presents everything. And the first argument is about the period before and after the prophet Jesus, and it's a style of writing and a method of combining books similar to the style of the present-day Muslim writers. Okay, and it's not possible to refute the obvious evidence which the text itself offers unless strong arguments are presented to negate it. The second argument, this gospel contains the statement in 21:24, chapter 21, verse 24. This is the disciple which testifies of these things, and we know that his testimony is true, and that's describing the apostle John. This denotes that the writer of the text is not John himself. Because you can see, it says that unless he's saying, hey, this is true because I wrote it, that's kind of weird. And it leads us to guess that the writer was found some script that was written by John and has described the contents in his own language, making some omissions and additions to the contents. And by the way, this is from the scholars of the Bible.
Right. Okay?
Now, the third argument is in the 2nd century A.D. when the authorities refused to accept this gospel as the book of John. Then Irenaeus, and by the way, who is Irenaeus? He's the bishop of Lyon, and had a celebrated Christian scholar. He was a well-known scholar from the year 130 AD through 184, and his books against heresy are very popular. The Latin translations of his books are still available, and that's according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. He's a disciple of Polycarp, not to be confused with Polycarp. The disciple of John was living. He did not make any statement. Gave those, I would start laughing again,
Okay.
who refused to accept the book and did not testify that he heard Polycarp saying that this gospel was the book of John the Apostle. Had it been the book of John, Polycarp must have known it. It cannot be the truth that he heard Polycarp saying many secret and profound things which he related, but did not hear a single word about a matter of such importance. And it is even more unbelievable that he had heard it and then forgot, since we know about him that he had a great trust in verbal statements and he used to memorize them. And all that is talking about the book of John. Let's move on. And there are a number of other arguments, by the way. There's the fourth argument talking about the Catholic Herald, which was printed in 1884. The fifth argument that talks about the great scholar Bert Schneider, who said that the whole of the gospel, all of the epistles of John, are definitely not written by him, but by some other person in the 2nd century. Sixth argument, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, and it goes on. Now, I recommend that you get a copy of the books and look at it for yourself. If you can't do it, check us out online. We should have it published by the time you hear this, that you'll be able to see for yourself. Then the epistles in the Revelation. Now, the epistle to the Hebrews is the second epistle of Peter, second and the third epistles of John, the epistles of Jacob, etc. All of that becomes what? More argument amongst the scholars of Christianity. We're talking about Christian scholars here arguing about their own works. This is not saying that this came from Muslim scholars saying these things. This is from the scholars of Christianity, and earlier we spoke about the scholars of the Bible, of the Old Testament, and we find them in sharp argument amongst each other, proving and disproving the various texts that they're holding in their hands. A number of contradictions here going on and on and on and on, and ad infinitum. After a while, you begin to realize that all of the scholars for centuries and centuries and centuries have held different opinions about what the Bible is.